Sean, welcome to Spotlight.
Thank you very much.
We're going to talk a little bit about you personally. First of all, tell us a little bit about Sean Clacken. Where were you born and where were you educated?
Well, I was born in Jamaica, like many of us. I went to Stella Maris Prep. I moved on to Wolmer's, and then from Wolmer's I went to sixth form at Wolmer's, and then went on to UTech. At the time it was called CAST, of course. Studied engineering, electrical engineering, got a diploma, and then jumped into the working world.
Okay, so you left Wolmer's and UTech, and you pursued a course in
electrical engineering.
Electrical engineering.
Yeah.
And so armed with that degree or
the diploma.
Qualification diploma at that time, what was the next step for you?
Well, it was job hunting, and I started sending out applications, and eventually I got a position here at Hawkeye, and started as a junior technician, and spent my first year at Hawkeye as a junior technician.
What was it like in those days at Hawkeye? Tell us about the experience. Young, fresh out of school, sometimes with a lot of ideas, and now in the world of work, a little bit of a culture shock. How did you?
It was a new experience. So I've never really went into the working world at that point in time. I used to work summer jobs, but never in the working world. I spent the first year, as I mentioned, in the technical department, but realized that just wasn't what I wanted to do. So it still was a little uncomfortable for me for the first year, but I got the opportunity to move on from the technical department and moved into sales.
Wow. Now, at the time, I would imagine that electronic security was a new thing in Jamaica, relatively new.
Yeah.
Did it seem like a challenge for you to sell something that was so new?
No, it wasn't a challenge. Well, security has always been a concern of many persons in Jamaica. So, at that time, it was a very easy sell. Everybody was always concerned. Life, family members, protection of staff, protection of goods is always on everybody's mind. So, it wasn't very difficult at the time.
So, how do you make a transition between having an electrical engineering qualification and becoming a salesperson?
Well,
tell us about that.
I tell everybody I'm not a salesperson, so I was probably the worst salesperson that there could be. However, I think I took a few qualities. One of the things that helped me actually, being in a technology industry, having that engineering background and actually working in the technical department allowed me to get a deep understanding of how the product works. Once you understand how the product works, it's then easy to apply how is a product applied. And I think that's where I had a benefit, and it helped me. But then I had to move beyond that. I think it was more my attitude. I always treated the customer as if the customer is the most important thing. So if I thought the customer needed the security, I would sell the security. I thought the customer didn't need it, I would tell them from the start, I don't think you need it. I think you need to put your energy somewhere else. So being honest and open with the customer, I think, was one of my selling points at the time. Although I don't think I was a great salesperson. I just think I understood the product, I knew how to apply it, and I was able to express that properly.
You can't be that bad a salesperson, and you were promoted. Now tell us, you moved from sales to where next?
Well, I remained a sales executive for some time. Then I became the sales manager, and then I moved on to become a sales director of the company.
Okay. Sales manager, so you were in charge of a team of sales.
A team of salespersons, yeah.
So the thrust was to actually supervise maybe more younger persons than yourself, persons who are less experienced than yourself.
Yeah.
And this was in a time when I think Hawkeye was growing. I mean,
yes, we
were
growing very, very, very fast. I had to supervise the team, but I also had to sell, because at the time, because I had the strength of the engineering background, I still had to be involved. We're a technology company, the technology kept changing, you had to be adapting. One of the things that has made us stand out over the years is innovation. So we have always been known to bring new technology to the marketplace. So I had to play a critical role in not only sourcing the technology, but letting the sales team understand how to sell it, how it works, let the customers understand how it works as well.
Excellent. Now, you're going to let me understand a little bit more about this technology. Tell us a little bit about how does Hawkeye provide the technology for me to be secure? Explain in a nutshell how it works.
Well, it's difficult, but because we offer such a wide range of solutions. But in reality, what we do, we visit with you, we clearly understand what are the needs that you have, what are the issues that you're having, what are the possible issues you think you'll have in the future, and then we look at what solutions there are to best meet the need. In some cases, technology can't meet that need, and we will direct it to the proper channel to whether that is guarding or some other solution. But in many cases, technology today is able to solve many problems that persons are having, and it comes at a lower price. So technology brings a lower cost in solving these problems.
All right. In terms of the range of services, I know you have a wide range of services. But could you give me some of the services just for the layperson out there who might be watching this interview and wonder, what does Hawkeye do? Give me all the services. Tell us about the gamut of services that Hawkeye offers.
Well, we offer, I would say, 4 basic services or 4 broad services. Our core product being our intrusion detection and panic alarm systems with armed response. So we will put a security system in your home or business. In the event there is a break-in or in the event that you need assistance and you press your panic button, we'll send an armed response team to you. That's how we started. That's the core product we started with, and that's still our core product today. And we moved on to a few other services. So we sell a lot of what we would call a one-off sales. So the camera systems, access control, automated gates, those are things that we also sell to assist in increasing your security. Then we moved into the armored courier service. So we securely transfer money, documents, anything that you need from one location to another. And I would say the final one, probably our fastest growing product, is vehicle tracking. So we offer, I would say, the best vehicle tracking solution in the island. And we are able to not only track when a vehicle is stolen, and we have recovered many vehicles over the years, but we also give you the ability to track your own vehicle. See what's happening, create efficiencies, and ensure that your drivers, your staff, everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing.
All right. So we're going to go through these services step by step.
Yeah.
The first one is the armed response electronic security.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. That's primarily for residential purposes and some businesses and so on and so on. How do you find, how readily do people gravitate to this service?
Yeah.
And how safe is it? How does it work for the customer, basically?
Yeah. Well, I think this is the core product, and it's possibly the most affordable product in the marketplace. So you can get systems starting as low as $20,000 installed and at $5,000 a month. And in the event an alarm goes off or you press a button, a signal is sent to our office via, it could be a radio transmitter, or it could be over the telephone line that lets us know what is happening to you. And at that point, we're going to just dispatch our nearest armed response team. So one of the things we also do is to kind of group our armed response teams into zones. So it allows us to respond faster. We have a target internally that we must respond to every single alarm within 15 minutes. That's our goal that we measure on a monthly basis as well, to make sure that we're responding quickly. I think last week, I think you've probably seen on Facebook an incident with us recently. I'm not sure if you have seen it, but it happened over the week. It happened about a week ago. And we actually responded to that alarm in 5 minutes. And we were able to apprehend an intruder in an house. So the reality is that we provide a way of detecting that there's something wrong at your home or your business place, and then we send an armed response team to assist you. Now, in many markets around the world, you don't have armed response teams, and I think the reason why we have armed response teams in Jamaica is that the resources of the police force is very stretched, and it's difficult for them to respond as fast as we can to incidents, mainly because of their resources.
Well, that's brilliant. 5 minutes. That's really remarkable.
Yeah.
Now, the second product that I'm so very interested in is the one that you mentioned about one of your newer products, which would be the
vehicle tracking.
Vehicle tracking.
Yeah.
Right. Now, vehicle tracking is phenomenal because more and more people are buying vehicles, and more sophisticated vehicles, and more car rings, stealing rings being detected, and so on. And a lot of the times they're stolen and scrapped and all sorts of things. Yeah. Now, tell us a little bit about that. And we know that a lot of persons who will be watching this interview who buy vehicles, and they would definitely want to know how can Hawkeye help me to make sure that my vehicle, I buy a vehicle for $2 million or $3 million, I can put on a Hawkeye tracker and I'm good. Talk to us about that.
Well, the tracking system is really geared for two things. One is stolen vehicle recovery. So in the event your vehicle is stolen, we're able to recover it for you. And the second part, it comes with a panic button, so it allows you to get some security while you're traveling on the road as well. That's the core product that most of our customers use. It works island-wide, so it doesn't matter where your vehicle is, we're able to locate it and recover it when it is stolen and if it is stolen. And about 2 years ago, we introduced what we call the Hawk Tracker Plus, which is a little bit more advanced system where the tracking device actually tells you that the vehicle is stolen. So we try to find how can we make the system smarter, more functional. So rather than you waking up 8 hours later in the morning and see that your vehicle is missing, it actually will send you a text message to let you know that it has been stolen. So we have been trying to utilize technology to make it more efficient. Now, a lot of customers are going vehicle tracking not only because of the security that it adds, but they also get savings on their insurance premium. So if you're paying, you may get up to 10–15% savings on the insurance premium. In many cases, it may even cover the cost of the tracking device. So it's definitely something worth looking into. I mean, not only, I know a lot of people look at, boy, well, my car only costs $1 million or $500,000, whatever the case is. I had a friend that recently lost a vehicle, but he wasn't worried about the vehicle he lost. He lost his laptop. He lost all the information that he had in the laptop. So many of those things also, it costs you, maybe not in money, but it costs you in emotional anguish.
So, yeah. And give us a little idea of the costing surrounding tracking, because we know people want the service. Tell us about roughly what would somebody be required to pay to install that, and the monthly.
It would cost $20,000 for the initial installation and equipment, and $2,500 plus tax per month.
Oh, that's not bad.
So it's pretty affordable. I mean, a lot of people don't realize how affordable it is, but it's pretty affordable. And there are a few dealers out there who work with Toyota, for instance, that is possible depending on the car that you buy. You will get a tracking system in 1 year service automatically with a new car from Toyota.
Wow.
So
excellent. Now, the electronic movement of money, our service is the new service of
cash in transit, or the armored courier service.
Armored courier service, right?
Yeah.
And that's important now for business people, primarily because of what, the crime situation that we face in this country.
Yeah.
You have big competition in that market as well.
Yes,
tell us about
that. The market is really dominated by one large player. We started very small because our focus was always on the alarm side and the monitoring and alarm response, and then our customers started to ask us, can you move our money as well? And we slowly got into that business. And about 2 years ago, or a little bit more than 2, or maybe about 5 years ago, we changed out all our vehicles to armored vehicles, and we replaced our entire fleet about 2 years ago to newer armored vehicles. The real reason we did that is armored vehicles is greater security for our guys that are on the road. So having a soft skin regular Toyota Corolla or whatever it is going to be difficult to protect not only the money that we're securing, but the people that are transporting the money. So the armored vehicle is really a move for us to keep our guys safer, as well as to allow us to enter some markets that are traditionally hard to get into, such as the financial institutions that require you to have an armored vehicle.
Excellent.
But it's a service. I find it very strange. It's something that I think everybody should use. It may cost you $2,500 per trip just to move some money. That, if you're going to be risking your life to transport $100,000 or $500,000 to the bank, when you could just spend $2,500 to secure it.
So tell us, is that how reasonable it is?
It's very affordable.
So, for instance, how does it work? Because a customer would want to transfer his money to the bank and doesn't want to be...
Yeah, so you be an owner, let's say you own a clothing store, a retail clothing store, and each day you would collect cash and you need to move that cash to the bank. Rather than you carrying it to the bank yourself, we'll transport it and safely ensure that it gets there.
And the cost is?
And the cost is very affordable. It ranges, depends on the amount of money that you're carrying, but I mean, $2,500 is a basic entry level that a typical small business would have to pay.
Wow. The other thing that I really want to talk to you about is the service of security guarding, right? Because that is also another component of your business.
It's now a component right now done through ranger protection.
Ranger protection, right. Now, tell us a little bit about that, because that also has a lot of competition in it as well. Talk to us about that service.
Well, it's pretty much in many areas, electronics is not able to solve some things, and you need a physical presence. That physical presence, for instance, to man your gates, to ensure that you're only letting in authorized persons, to look for shoplifting. So in many cases, you need a physical presence to see what is happening, and that's where our guarding service from Ranger kicks in. I think it's a good complement to our electronic side. It allows us now to offer everything. So whatever the security problem is, we can find the best mix of electronics and guarding to solve that need. However, it's a tough business because it's so expensive to provide guarding service. Maybe one guard around the clock for a full year, maybe up to $3 million a year. So it's very expensive to have one security officer. And that's what makes it very challenging in the industry. So the competition is very stiff because there are, I don't know, maybe 200 security companies out there providing guard services.
Wow.
And it's very difficult to compete. And what makes it more difficult is that we're not competing at the same level. So
Explain that.
It's a very tough industry. We're regulated by many different ministries, and there are some people in the industry not necessarily playing by the rules. So
you have to expand that for me because I'm a novice to this thing. It's a tough industry. Yeah. We know that because there are many players.
Yeah.
You said you're regulated by many different sectors of the government.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the many different regulations that affect security in this instance, and also persons who are not playing by the rule. You don't have to call it a name, but explain to me
I think some of the major issues that we're facing is you have some companies out there that are not paying what the minimum wage is. It's hard to compete against that when you have a few players out there that what we are charging is possibly almost 50% more than what they're charging. And the reason they can do that is that they're not paying minimum wage. That's not something that we will ever want to walk down that road. So we tend to get so finding business and keeping business becomes a little bit more challenging because price is a major concern to many customers today because of the limited dollar. It's very hard for them to have those funds available. So sometimes price becomes the determining factor, not necessarily service. And it's hard to compete when you're not playing on a level playing field. And one of the regulating agencies, which is the PSRA, Private Security Regulation Authority, they also have, it's difficult for them to properly regulate because of the funding that they have. So they only have a few people to regulate all the companies island-wide, and it's just not possible for them to do that. I know they do have some plans to get that changed, but it's
still a problem.
Still a problem.
Wow, this is news for me, and it is an eye-opener for me because it seems to me that what you're finding is that whilst you have 200 or more security companies in Jamaica, the quality of service might be different across the spectrum. Is that correct?
Well, it will be very different, not only the quality of service, but the people that are securing premises. So the PSRA, who is a major regulator, they have to secure you first. They have to give you a license to operate. And in giving you that license, you have to meet certain criteria. And the security officers also have to meet certain criteria. But there are a lot of security officers operating as security officers that are not actually registered with the PSRA. That's also another issue.
Wow.
So let's say the PSRA says they have 20,000 registered security officers. I don't really know what the number is, but it could actually be 30,000. However, only 20,000 are registered and go through the background checks, go through all the police records, go through all the due diligence to make sure that they are okay and fit and proper to be a security officer.
But this brings me to another issue because clearly this must be a serious concern for you as one of the major players in the industry. How do you lobby the government to make sure that this changes? Because it doesn't all go well for Jamaicans in the long run because you're really picking up some set of security personnel who are not probably trained and maybe not the best intentioned sort of people. You don't go through the proper due diligence, and not sure if some of them have had police records sorted out, all sorts of things. So you could end up having very shady personalities actually presenting themselves as security guards.
It's happening today. And that's why many of the security officers, many of the companies out there are actually hiring these. It may mean that they would not get the security officer registered because they already know that they may have a criminal background or some type of background with it. So it could be something very minor, but it could also be something very major.
Well, you know, just as a layperson, as a journalist, I would think that this would be a significant enough problem for the major players to keep lobbying the Ministry of National Security about.
We have been lobbying, and we have been lobbying the PSRA. One of the issues that the PSRA has is that the current legislation doesn't give them enough teeth to act, and they are in the process of drafting new legislation to give them that teeth. However, I've been told it may take another 2 years to get there. They need to have the funding, and they need to be able to have the proper regulation so that they can act quickly. So if someone has been found to be breaching the act, new act, then they can take action quickly and remove that person as a licensed person to operate in the security industry.
In your opinion, did you think that the private security business in Jamaica grew too fast for the private sector? Because what I'm thinking of is, it seems to me that this private sector security operation in this country grew so fast that the regulatory arm of it did not catch up with the speed at which persons were getting involved in the security business, and so you have a gap. Is that a correct assessment?
No, I don't think so. I think security has always been a concern. The guarding industry has grown significantly, but I don't think it has grown at a pace that would have caused regulation. I think it just takes too long to draft legislation and to get things passed and to get things changed. And I'm hoping that in 2 years we'll be able to resolve it and get things moving, but we're still waiting to see.
What is the rule governing persons who have done wrong in the police force and the army and have been expelled from the army and come into the security system? Is there a rule governing if or when they can be employed, or how do you guys handle that? You know, because
we handle it just like any person that we hire. So we're going to do all the necessary due diligence. We're going to do the background checks. We're going to do everything to determine why is it you're not a police officer anymore. Why is it that you left this previous employer? We're going to determine everything to make sure first that you're a fit person to be a security officer, even before going through the regulatory background checks. So I think we're going to treat a police officer just like any other person that we're looking at hiring.
How many security guards do you currently employ in your operation at Ranger?
At Ranger, about 1,600. So they're not employed, but we treat them as contractors, and that's also another.
Because there's a gray area, isn't it?
There is a gray area, and it has been. It's something that all the companies struggle with. Employees is mainly because when I get a new contract today and I need 150 security officers, I need to find them right now. But also when I lose a contract today, I now have to terminate 150 security officers. It's very hard to operate in an environment like that in an employer-employee relationship.
Because you'd have redundancies to pay and all that sort of thing.
Yes. So we have to treat them as contractors, mainly because we are taking them on to work as a subcontractor for us at a particular location. Whereas for Hawkeye, all our security officers are employed. But the principle is somewhat different because they are responding to all our customers. They're there to always be there to respond to all our customers, and they're considered employees.
Is there a disparity in terms of physical training between the persons who operate at Hawkeye as opposed to the persons who operate at Ranger?
They may have been in the past, but since we have brought the two companies closer and they now have common management under the DLM group, this training is now centralized, and the training for both Hawkeye and for Ranger currently is the same. Hawkeye gets some more advanced training in some areas because of the nature of the operation. We're entering facilities on a regular basis, and we have to do things in a strategic way. The training is somewhat different on the Ranger side, but generally still the core training is the same.
Now, we want to talk a little bit about DLM, the group, because we explored it off record, but just for the viewers. The merger, the DLM group is operating two companies, Hawkeye and Ranger Security. What was the reason behind the change, and how has it benefited the growth of the company?
Well, we had a number of reasons of doing it. The two companies were always owned by the same owners for the last 25 years, but they operated totally independently. And we thought it best for not only efficiencies, but for the customer to be able to offer one product, which is a mix of electronic and guarding, and to be able to offer that product. And the only way we're going to be able to offer it as one company or to offer it as one product is to bring the two companies closer together. So about 2 years ago, we decided to merge the management team. The two companies still exist as separate legal entities, but we have merged the management team. And through that, we have created some efficiencies, as I mentioned earlier, but we have created a more unified company. It has been somewhat challenging over the last 2 years because you have two companies with two different cultures, and you're trying to get the two cultures merged together into a new culture, but we're getting there.
Excellent. Now, the crime situation in Jamaica puts you on your guard every day. It's especially in Montego Bay, I think we can safely say that is really a hotspot as we speak now. Do you find that it affects the psychology of your employees who are going out there day to day and responding to significant challenges? Tell us about what sort of toll it takes on probably your workers, the person who are actually having to face some of these serious issues.
Well, we're a 24-hour business, just like the security forces. We're a 24-hour business, and we always have to be there for our customers. We can't say we're not going to work today because it's a public holiday, so we always have to be there. And it poses challenges because I think the environment is getting tougher, and it means that the criminal element are getting more sophisticated, so we also have to adapt as well. We try to do a few things internally to assist our staff members. So we have a counselor, for instance, that comes in every week, and he's there available to anybody to assist them with personal issues on the job, issues they may be facing on the road, because it is very tough out there. And in many cases, this type of job is not suited for everybody. You have to have a certain type of personality to be able to handle it.
I came in, the reason I asked you this question, I came in and I saw some employees who died on the job. I saw some photographs, and it came home to me that this is really a very, very tough business. People die in the line of fire. And so it is, it's almost the same issues that the police are dealing with that you guys are dealing with.
Yes, we're dealing with the same issues.
The same issues.
I think the police are probably more exposed than we are, because they're dealing directly with gang-related activity and so forth. So they're much more exposed than we are. But the reality is we are exposed whenever we're responding, especially with a Hawkeye response team. We're going into a situation that we don't know what is taking place. So we are exposed. We're facing a criminal element on a daily basis.
Have you ever gotten the feeling that there's a tension between the security forces and private security companies in Jamaica?
No, I mean, there may be some tension, but I don't think it's very minimal tension between the two. We are here to assist, and we're really filling a gap where they don't have the resources to fill it, and we are filling a short-term gap to help protect commercial and residential customers. So we work together to solve the same problem.
What sort of liaison takes place?
Well,
in terms of apprehension and, you know.
Normally what tends to happen in many cases is that we're doing the initial apprehension and then we hand over to the police to take over. So the incident I mentioned to you recently that happened last week in Montego Bay, we apprehended someone inside the house and we had to wait until the police arrived to then take over. Our role is really just to protect our customers, whether being residential or commercial, and the police authorities have to take over from there.
Now that we have gotten some of the things out of the way, we want to look at the whole aspect of the country's crime problem. Yeah. You directly operate in this phase, yeah. And you must be concerned as the CEO of this company, yeah, about the crime situation in this country. Do you have any thoughts on our situation as we speak?
Well, I'm concerned more as a Jamaican than as the CEO of the company, because although I run a security company, everybody says, you guys must be doing very well. As crime goes up, we do better. But the reality is that we have to live here as well. All our staff members have to live in this environment. So a safer country for us would be still a better company. And that's where I would like to see things go. Just following, what was your last question again?
Well, just to say, any ideas of what could, because one of the issues that we face is gang-related activities, yeah, and that's a big part of our problem. Yeah. How do we solve that? How do we try and minimize that?
My personal view is that the security forces can't solve that problem. That is a social problem. We have to address it through many areas, whether that being through education, through opportunity. Security forces can only enforce the law to deter people from getting into crime, but if there isn't that social support system, you're just going to be creating more and more criminals. One of the charities that we work with, one of our directors, Loving Action, he works with Loving Action, and one of the things that they work on is trying to assist persons that have been convicted, to assist them while they're in prison so that when they come out, they will have a better life. We're in a difficult country. If things were getting better, if I saw the country growing a lot more, I would see that things would be getting better in the short term. I think it's going to be tough over the next 5 to 10 years. And I think we just have to put all our energy into parenting, into education, and trying to find ways of getting new businesses and spurring small business involvement in growing Jamaica.
Now, let's go into activities outside of Jamaica. Yeah. Is Hawkeye outside of Jamaica? Are you in the Caribbean? Are you a player in the Caribbean? Or
no, currently we're not a player outside of Jamaica.
Okay.
But it's something that we're actually aggressively looking at now.
Okay. So we've gotten the story that you're getting ready to go outside of Jamaica.
We're getting ready.
Okay. What's the business like outside of Jamaica? Is there the market for that in other Caribbean territories as in Jamaica, or do you think Jamaica, because of the size of the country and the crime situation, that this is a more lavish, a more friendly environment, so to speak?
Well, there are opportunities in the Caribbean. Right now, we're not limiting our scope to the Caribbean. We're looking in all areas, in South America, in the United States, in Canada. We're actually leaning away from the Caribbean, and mainly because the Caribbean market is small. Right. So you can do well and go in a Caribbean country and do well, but then your growth is limited because the size of the population is limited. Mm-hmm. So we're actually looking in larger markets right now.
All right. Now, you personally, you run a security company. Yeah. It's challenging. It's 24 hours operation. Yeah. How do you balance this sort of job with family?
Yeah. It's tough.
Tell us.
But I have a strong wife that beats me over the head every so often and reminds me to have that balance. Mm. But you have to, when you look at your life, business is just a tool for enjoying your personal life. And at the end of the day, that's what business is. And the goal is to achieve that personal gain. And you have to make the time, and I try as best as possible to make the time for my 2 kids and for my wife, as well as my parents and extended family, because that's why I'm here. That's why I come to office. That's why I work 12 hours a day, because I want to spend more time with them. So I can't wait 10 years and 20 years to spend time with them. I have to spend the time now.
Interesting. That's a very interesting concept. Now, what do you do in your spare time? I mean, it's hard, it's tough work, grinding work. When you don't have Hawkeye's business to look after, what do you do?
I don't do much, actually. I spend a lot of time with my kids and my wife. That's what I spend most of my time doing. Most of my weekends and in the evenings is with them. Outside of that, I've started to read. It's one of the things that I wished I did from a long time ago. I came out of school and I only read when I had to. And now I'm trying to read at least 2 books every month, and that's what I do a lot of my spare time. The reality is, if you don't change your thinking, you won't get where you want to get to. And the only way to change your thinking is to feed your mind with something else, so something new. So that's one of the things that I've been spending my time doing. Outside of that, I do one of my sporting activities, I would say, is bird shooting. So it's something I've done.
Yes, I'd imagine that you're a hunter.
I'm a hunter.
How accurate are you?
Maybe not as accurate today, but in my youthful days, I actually represented Jamaica in skeet shooting.
Wow.
And did pretty well.
Tell us about that. You know, tell me about that. Tell me about that.
Let me see if that's a long time ago.
It doesn't matter. I mean,
I would say what I'm known for in the shooting community was one particular shoot that we went to, which was the World Championship. And that particular day I shot 125 out of 125. So I shot a perfect score that day.
Well, that's why you're the head of Hawkeye.
That's in my youthful days.
Yes.
But it's something that I really want to start back again. I haven't shot much outside of bird hunting, and something like that.
Well, I used to cover skeet shooting a lot at the range in Portmore.
Yeah.
You're still a member of the club?
Yeah, I'm still a member.
Yeah. Tell us, just to digress a little bit, it's a sport that a lot of persons who are shooting enthusiasts love. What's the development of how have you seen the development of the shooting in Jamaica? Is there anything affecting it, and where would you like to see it go?
Well, there are a lot of opportunities. Right now at the Jamaica Skeet Club, Khalil Azan is heading a group of young students. I think he had a shoot recently with 45 students. And I think what he's doing for the shooting fraternity, especially shotgun fraternity in Jamaica, is nothing like this has ever been done before. He's grooming a lot of young people to shoot, and I think you're going to see the results, I think, in Olympics in maybe the next 5 to 10 years. On the pistol side, we're doing very well with one particular person right now. I think he probably is ranked maybe number 10 in the United States right now. But I think the major challenge is cost. It's very expensive to shoot. In the United States, you can shoot your ammunition, you can reload it, and reshoot that ammunition again. It's about 1/3 the cost of buying brand new ammunition. And if we could get that done in Jamaica, it's a very touchy subject in Jamaica, giving the permission to reload ammunition. But if we could get that done in Jamaica, it would significantly reduce shooting, and I think you would see a growth in the shooting fraternity, and I think you would see us at the Olympics a lot faster.
Wow.
I think we have some very talented shooters in Jamaica, very, very talented. We compete on the world stage in many areas of shooting, and we're not shooting professionally. These are persons shooting as a hobby, and we compete on the world stage. So if we were able to get that assistance, I think we'd do very well.
So how do you translate your marksmanship into training your staff? Because if you're that good a shooter, clearly you would have to instill that level of accuracy. Because that is also very important when people are deciding which company to use. Because if I'm going to use a security company, I want to know that if it comes down to the test, man, I have somebody who's going to be able to be very accurate. Now, when you train these guys to go on the road, how do you instill that level of, accuracy into them so that when they go there, they're really good at what they do?
Well, you have to keep on practicing. This is not something, shooting is not something you can do today, and 3 years from now you fire your next shot and you're going to be accurate. You have to constantly practice, and that's something that probably distinguishes us from many of the other companies as well.
Do you have your own ranger or your own range?
No, we don't have our own range. We use the facilities of someone else.
Okay.
But maybe in the future.
Excellent. Now, as we wrap up this interview, we want to look at the long-term goals of Hawkeye, because while we sit here, we look at how tremendously well you've done so far.
Yeah.
Clearly, anybody at the helm of a company is going to be looking at the growth potential over, a couple of years. Now, talk to us about financially where you are at the moment.
Yeah.
How do you envision yourself against some really good competition in this market, and how do you expect to acquit yourself going forward?
Well, I think what separates us, I mentioned earlier, is innovation. We've always been a leader and bringing new technology to the industry. Just this month, we released a new product that allows you to now load an app on your phone, and then that app, whether it's an iPhone, Android phone, BlackBerry, Windows phone, you can activate that app, alert us that there's a problem. We'll actually see a video clip and hear an audio clip of what happened when you pressed the button on your phone, and then send a response team. So this is something new that we've brought to the marketplace again, that works on any smartphone, and we will continue to look at new ways, new products, new innovative thinking to solve our customer problems. We have been focusing a lot over the last 2 years on our internal systems, so we've changed out a lot of software. We'll be changing out software again next month, and we're doing a lot of things at the end of the day to ensure that the service to our customer is done as efficiently as possible. That's our focus. Our focus at the end of the day is just to make sure that when our customers call us, we are able to respond and respond faster than anyone else. I think generally speaking though, for a broader vision, we mentioned it earlier, that we are aggressively exploring expansion outside of Jamaica. And hopefully we will be able to have that going within a year.
I just want to touch one thing about the housing industry before we close off, because it came to me, and when we announced that we were going to be interviewing you, somebody on Facebook asked us to ask you this question. Yes. And it's important. Now, we're having the proliferation of housing across Jamaica, particularly a lot from the St. Catherine end into to Clarendon side. And with all that mass building taking place, there is mass need for security. I noticed there has been a push from Hawkeye and other security firms in terms of securing communities. But after a while, it breaks down. I don't know if you have any idea, if you'd want to respond to me in that way. Why is it that there seems not to be the consistency in terms of deliverables to a community as opposed to individuals? Because you tend to find out that a firm has started to work in a community, and then all of a sudden it breaks down. But a few persons in the community will probably keep the service, and you keep having a lot of communities being built by different contractors and so on, and the need still remains. I mean, is it a tough thing to keep?
Well, our primary goal is to secure our customers. We have no legal authority to go into anybody else's house other than a customer. So that being said, that is where our focus is. Now, at the same time, a safer community leads to our customers being safe. So, but there are limits to what we can do. One of the strategies we use is just to have a strong presence in the area and a visibility in the area that acts as a deterrent. But I think communities have to go beyond just looking at private security. Back in the day, you would find persons knowing their neighbors, children playing on the street. A lot of our social fabric and community relationships are broken down. Persons don't know who their next door neighbor is, and we need to find a way to build back the communities, because it's that strength of community that's going to keep communities safe in our security companies.
security companies will assist and is one of the tools that will help to keep the community safe, but you need to have that foundation right.
Sean, thank you very, very much for stopping by and being our guest on Spotlight. We really enjoyed it, and we wish you all the very best in your challenging job. And we know that Hawkeye will continue to grow from strength to strength.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Take care.